hi.
Oh, hello. Well, that was a very difficult Restaurant Wars. It's time for you all to pack your bags and go. Because we're gonna hit the road to head to Greenville, South Carolina.
Holy crap.
That sounds amazing, but they wouldn't come into the stew room and just tell us that we're going to South Carolina.
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thanks for tuning in for all things food and pop culture. Just a reminder to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content, and make sure to like and follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcast and your podcast player of choice, and on YouTube, so you know when things are coming up. We are in episode 9 of Top Chef. We're fresh off of Restaurant Wars, and we're going into a dinner party. We got a return of exiled chef from Last Chance Kitchen coming back, trying to make an impact and make it all the way to the finals. We got a lot going on and a lot to talk about. And joining me again this week is Chef Corwin Hemming from Top Chef Season 22. Chef Corwin, how you doing?
What's up, Rich? We're back, week 9, ready to get into it.
We are back. So let's jump right in. So no rest for the wicked. They're still in the stew room, recovering from the elimination of Restaurant Wars. And Kristen and Gail come in and immediately gives the premise of the next Quickfire and elimination challenge. It's kind of an interesting challenge. It's kind of a combined Quickfire and elimination. Basically, they're throwing a dinner party, a Southern style dinner party. And they're doing it in Greenville, South Carolina. So we're getting out of the kitchen. We're getting out of Charlotte, and we're heading to Greenville, South Carolina. And the surprise guest judge is Shuai Wang, your buddy from season 22. Was it good to see Shuai back on the screen there?
Yeah, I caught a snippet last week when the episode aired, and I immediately put it in our group chat. I'm like, oh, I see you as the judge on the next one. And there's a running joke. He was, Shuai's hilarious, first and foremost. I don't think you guys understand how funny Shuai is. So I was like, oh, are you sure that wasn't Buddha? Immediately.
That's hilarious. Yeah, it was good to see Shuai back on the screen there. And the Quickfire I thought was interesting. It's a Duke's Mayo sponsored Quickfire, which I love Duke's Mayo. It's my favorite kind of mayo. And Shuai loves it so much he had it tattooed on his arm. Is there? I mean, I don't know if you have any tattoos or not, but have you ever loved an ingredient so much that you wanted it tattooed on your body?
I wanted a tattoo, have no idea how much I would ever spend on a tattoo. I know it would be expensive because I would probably want like a full sleeve. So I've just never convinced myself to put $10,000 worth of art on my body. If you know Shuai, you know he loves Duke's Mayo so much. He actually just did a collab with Tillet, the chef wear brand that they had this whole Duke's Mayo spread, shorts, shirts, trinkets. It has like a little Duke's Mayo pocket for like a little packets of mayonnaise. So Shuai loves Duke so much. He got Duke to do a collab with him because of this episode, like just pure marketing, branding genius. I love it. I gotta find my collab. I think that's what's next. We gotta figure out what's collab worthy for Corwin, and maybe I'm gonna just tattoo something on my elbow, and then I'll get some extra checks off this.
There you go. Go Shuai. Get your bag, Shuai. Get out
your
there.
Bag up, Shuai. Love that for you.
Love that for him.
I'm gonna send you the link too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'd be cool to see. I didn't know he did a collab. That's fun. So he probably would have done it.
Just came out like a week ago.
That's hilarious. He probably would have done it for free. He loves Duke Mayo so much. But yeah, so they are doing the Duke's Mayo Quickfire and then moving right into the elimination challenge, all in the same cook, which I thought was really interesting. And then they announced that Rhoda's back. So Rhoda has come back, and everybody's thrilled. Everybody thought maybe, well, is it going to be Brandon? Is he going to be coming back? But Rhoda comes back. And usually when people come back to the competition from Last Chance Kitchen, they're coming in with a renewed vigor and some like they have something to prove. So we'll talk about a little bit about that and see how she did throughout the episode today. Lawrence really takes the lead in the shopping. I want to talk about this for a second because it was challenging because they had $1,200 to shop as a group, and there's 8 of them left, right? So there's 8 people left, and they have to spend $1,200 for both their Quickfire and elimination challenge ingredients, and they have to share it. So Lawrence takes the lead, and you can tell he's run a team before, he's run a kitchen. He's like, all right, everybody's gonna be $150 each, so don't go over that, and we should be good to go. But what's interesting is the way they had to pick their dishes. Some people had some more expensive, courses in the dinner party. So I was watching it and like, this is like splitting a check at a restaurant, and I ordered the steak and lobster and somebody else ordered the salad, and you're asking the salad person to pay the same amount as the steak and lobster person. So
Should have ordered the steak.
yeah, should have ordered the steak, right? So this was ripe for a lot of drama, but Lawrence really kind of honed everybody in, and they ended up coming 2 cents under budget. There was no drama of like, why do you have to get so much of that, and I need this, and you need to put that back. So it was pretty calm. Were you surprised about that? I was.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to make sure it was as fair as possible, um, and stepped up. And you heard the other chefs being like, "Yeah, thank you." Like, they made sure that everybody got their mise en place in order, which we saw. I mean, a couple people probably needed a couple extra things. So where some people probably did really well, some people needed some extra mise en place, and we saw that. And we'll get to that later. But yeah, it raised some eyebrows. We saw it at judges' table, so
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. So it may have helped if someone had if some of them had the heavier courses, got to spend a little bit more money than some that
Right,
had the light
exactly.
courses, right? So the
But would
drama
it
didn't
would
come.
it have saved it? Would it have saved it? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe, maybe not. But everybody had the same 150 to spend, and everybody was playing nice with each other, and
Mhm.
got it to work from a budget standpoint. But man, you got to wonder if after the fact they think of what if in my head. What if was able to get that extra thing to put my dish over the top? Would I have been the winner, or would I have stayed in the middle instead of being on the bottom? I don't know. We'll see. So the Quickfire, they had to make a past appetizer, hors d'oeuvre style, featuring Duke's mayo. So that had to be kind of the star of the dish. And the judges wanted variety. They didn't want a bunch of dips or multiples of the same dish. So I was thinking about this because mayo, mayo, I like to call it sandwich lube sometimes to kind of make sure that sandwich isn't dry. But how do you make mayo the star of a dish without it being overly mayo tasting? Where's the challenge, or what's the challenge in doing that?
Turn it into an aioli. Season it, season the shit out of it. Turn it into something that like is not just mayonnaise, because mayonnaise is a distinct flavor, especially Duke's. Duke's has a very distinct flavor. Hellman's has a very distinct mayo, like mayo flavor. QP has a very distinct mayo flavor. They're all different creaminesses, uses different type of oil. So you got to know which like mayonnaise you're working with here. Duke's is great because it's like the classic Southern sandwich mayo, and it's like super versatile. But in my eyes, it's like season this, turn this into something that is a vessel to bring on other flavors for other things. And I think that that's how you let mayonnaise shine its best.
Yeah, I can't remember the restaurant, but there was a chef that uses Duke mayo to make chocolate cake because it adds moisture and makes the cake like just really moist, but there's no mayo flavor coming through. So I thought that could be tough. You could either make it too mayo tasting and overpower everything, or you don't put enough in and it's
Mhm.
not the star. So I thought it was a really unique challenge, especially for a past hors d'oeuvres where you only get one bite to really impress somebody. I thought Anthony's choice of doing dumpling purses for the appetizer was interesting and sounded good. But when you saw him when he was trying to make it, that adrenaline was kicking in, and his hands were shaking. So making something so intricate in a timed setting, how tough is that?
It is. Top Chef Kitchen is unforgivable. We see this every single challenge, every single season. Like somebody's always tripping up on mise en place or time. Whereas if they had the comforts of their own kitchen, they probably wouldn't. So it's like you want to go for it. You want to win the money in the quickfire, especially. Like that's where the gold of Top Chef is. Outside of winning Top Chef, it's walking away with a bag. And so you want to beat everybody out, and sometimes you don't know what other people are making. So you're like, I just got to go for it, put up the best dish possible. Um, the good thing is Anthony's been cooking at a high level all season. So we're seeing him get really deep into his cooking repertoire at this point, and staying versatile, staying creative is hard in the latter part. Especially if you've already done a couple desserts and you've exhausted your dessert bag. If you've done all these things, cooked all these dishes, you don't want to try to repeat and do too many of the same dishes, because the judges are going to catch on and be like, hey, you need to give us some type of versatility as this competition goes on, especially if you want to win. So he's doing something intricate. He's tying these little like ribbons of green herbs, and to make it, give it his last touch. And it's like, it pays off when you nail it. And he's got like 25K in the bank right now. I need $10, man. I got some bills to pay. Help me out here, brother. You're right across the way. I'll come find you at Marcus, DC, man. I know where you're at.
That's funny. That's funny. Another kind of funny scene during the quick fires. Both Jonathan and Brandon like to talk a lot when they cook. They're
Mhm,
they're very gabby in the kitchen, which makes me
mhm.
think they're like that in real life. but Jonathan's just kind of gabbing away, and Sherry's just like locked in. She's like prepping and she's focused. She's not even paying attention to him. Like at some point, when you were in the challenge, there's talking around, and how distracting is that when you're cooking for a competition and you got somebody that's like talking in your ear, and then you have maybe like Tom coming in and talking. Like, how hard is it to stay focused in on your own cook when you have producers in your ear, you have Tom, and then you have somebody like a Jonathan, just gabbing away in the kitchen.
I mean, the banter in the kitchen is kind of needed for Top Chef because it creates some like little pockets of like comedic relief when everything's so tense and so serious. But um, I remember there was a point where like somebody was trying to ask me a question and I was like blending something in a Vitamix and it was on high and they just kept asking it and I was looking at them and I remember being like, don't know what you're saying right now. Like, come back to me when I'm done blending this sauce perfectly and then we can have a conversation. And they were like, it was basically just on high. What? And I was just like, I'm done. I'm not even trying to answer you right now. I got to finish the sauce. Like, make sure my mise en place is good. Um, but yeah, it's funny sometimes. But sometimes it's needed. Like, it's dead quiet in there. Sometimes everybody's locked in, and then the producers are like, hey, like let's pick this up. Like, talk to each other. Like start asking some questions and stuff. Sometimes it's really needed. But Sherry is like so laser focused that she's like, hey, look, I'm cooking to win, man. She's like, I'm not here to joke around.
Yeah, watching Sherry and Jonathan interact, I was thinking about like I interviewed Curtis Duffy once on my show, and he keeps his
Mhm.
kitchen like pin drop quiet,
Yeah.
and I can like okay, I can see why you would want that, especially if you had like a Jonathan working in the kitchen, just like gabbing the whole shift. But
hmm
yeah, it was pretty interesting to watch Jonathan and Sherry interact there for a moment. What
It's
stood out?
different.
What's
It's
that?
different when you have a three Michelin star kitchen and like the mise en place has to be perfect and immaculate like every time. Like Curtis Duffy ran Grace in Chicago for a while, and he's a talented chef, so and he comes from the millennial world where like it's just not you just don't talk. Like unless you're asking a question about your mise en place, you just don't talk. Like don't do it. Put your head down, bury your head in plate like an ostrich, and tweezer everything, dainty spoon. So it's just a different like Top Chef is made for like you to talk. Like they need to tell your story. They need some of the banter. They need to hear you like when you're messing up, you're mic'd up. Like you start cursing, mumbling under your breath because your mise en place not good. That camera's gonna be right there, being like, "Oh, what's going on here, bro? What you got there? let me see. Let me see you get a little closer." And then if you think that like that information doesn't get back out to like the judges, like they're gonna start like there's a reason why they know what's going on, man. They're locked in too. So Tom starts walking through the kitchen. He's heard something. He's mic'd up. And then next thing you know, he's like looking at your mise en place, asking like the right questions or the wrong questions, and you're like, "Come on, Tom, like get up out of my face." Like when Tom came over, I would just slow down, clean up, look at my mise en place, listen to what he's saying, give him an answer, and then like, all right, he's on to the next part, right back to what I'm doing. Like there's ways around it.
Yeah, the camera's zooming in so close, it's getting grease splatter on the lens,
hmm
that sort of thing. That's funny. So, what were some scenes that stood out to you during the quickfire? Before we get into the dishes, was there anything there that kind of stood out to you that made you were like, "Whoa"?
No, I thought some people had some good points. Seeger was making deviled eggs, and he has the same thought process of me when I like to make deviled eggs. I hate when the yolks are like super hammered, and it makes like the chalky yolk mix. And so like he was like, I undercooked them a little bit to make them a little jimmier. I was like, oh, that's either gonna win out or it's gonna be a terrible idea because you're also folding it in with mayonnaise. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get it creamy again if you reconstitute it. But I just saw a little couple pockets where I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like I've also thought about that. And then Oscar's Toston, he's been cooking like Mexican Southern food this whole time. Like he's sticking to himself. So in his theme. And so I'm like, okay, like he's going for it. Chef Dwayne came out a little bit. We saw a couple moments there where, she's making her croquette. Um, and, she was like, locked in. And then one thing that actually did stand out was when it was Lawrence and Anthony were like, hey, we're going to use this time, we're going to prep this way. And then they get into the thick of it. And then they had to like completely reswitch their strategy. And I was like, oh man, maybe this is going to hurt them. But both of them performed super well as we've been seeing this whole season. Um, the two of them really have been operating at a high level consistently, even though they've had some dips. That's natural for Top Chef, but they are both locked in at this point. I think like I said, we're seeing who's gonna pan out. The people that are consistently kind of like shaky are getting knocked off week to week, and the people that are not are winning money, winning elimination challenges, and it's apparent the two of them are in it to win it. They're very focused. They're honed in. Yeah, I think they both scored us some points this week. So both you and I are up this week.
Yeah, yeah, definitely so, definitely so. So let's get into the appetizers in the order of service. So Jonathan and Anthony were up first. So Jonathan made a BLT deviled egg with bacon jam and pimento. Anthony made a crab dumpling with chili crunch and mayo. Everyone loved to seem to love both apps. They liked Anthony's texture and Jonathan's take on a classic Southern app. So strong start from the two of them. Of the two, I mean, I love a deviled egg. I really do. I don't know what it is about deviled eggs, but if I eat just a normal boiled egg, I can maybe eat one, maybe two boiled eggs. But you put a
Same.
plate of deviled eggs in front of me, and I'm slamming 10 of them down. And I'm like,
Oh man, for
I
real?
don't understand what it is about a deviled egg that makes me want to eat 5 boiled eggs in a row. But I love it so much. But Anthony's crab dumpling looked really good. I mean, he spent time and with shaky hands making those little dumplings. But of the two, I probably would have wanted to eat Anthony's because I do love texture. I do love the crunch that it looked like it had. What did we think of these first two presentations coming right out of the gate?
Well, they first want both. They wanted to both do shrimp toast. That was
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
Lawrence went first, picked his, and Anthony was just like, I didn't plan for anybody taking shrimp toast. It's a little good moment. But that's what happens. He had to reset really quick and come up with a good idea in real time. And I also love shrimp toast, so I would have probably gone there. Um, but they both executed really nice dishes. I loved the way how he like sliced the toast so you can see like the mousseline on the inside and it was standing up, and he like garnished it on top. The dishes look really nice, man. I think both of them kind of went 2 for 2 on their dishes here in elimination and quickfire.
yep, yep. So Sherry and Lawrence were up next. Sherry did a twice baked potato, kind of a twist on that, with aioli, steak tartare, and crispy potato on top. Lawrence did the shrimp toast, which Anthony wanted to get, but Lawrence picked it. And so he did a shrimp toast with the shrimp salad. Lawrence seemed to avoid getting the bread too crispy. I saw him throw the bread in the oil, and I was like, "Oh no," because
Mm.
he didn't make bread from scratch. He even said it in his confessional that when he makes this at his restaurant, he makes a bread that can withstand being in frying oil, deep fried. But he was using store bought bread, and he was really concerned that it would soak up too much oil like a sponge and just come out just greasy. But he pulled it off. So
Mm.
they thought it was really good. The bread was crispy and not soggy. Krista thought Sherry's could have used a little bit more mayo in hers. I liked her take though on the twice baked potato. It kind of sort of looked like a croquette. It was
Mhm.
round and small because I was wondering how she was going to do a twice baked potato as a past hors d'oeuvre. But she kind of had a play on it and a take on it that was really easy to pick up, and you eat it, and it reminded you of a twice baked potato. So, thoughts on Sherry and Lawrence on this one?
Sherry definitely made a very composed dish. It looked immaculate. She took her time, but what we saw was she didn't get enough mayonnaise flavor into it,
Mhm.
um, which is, I hate baked potatoes. It's probably my least favorite version of a potato myself. But I know that I don't put mayonnaise into mine, even though it would add a ton of creaminess to it if you did into that whipped mix. And then whatever you garnish it with is whatever you garnish it with. But I thought aesthetically she made a very nice dish, which is why she probably kind of just existed in the middle on this challenge in terms of like the judges' critique.
Yeah, yeah. I liked her take on it. I wish I could taste it. Like
Mm,
like it looked really good, and I thought it'd be a really nice little like pop, like a little
mm.
bite you just throw in your mouth, and it looked really good. So Oscar, Dwen, and Seeger are up next, and first I want to say apologies to Dwen. I've been saying her name wrong this entire time. I've been saying Du Yen, but it's Dwen. So apologies, Dwen, if you're watching. I apologize for mispronouncing your name for the past 8 weeks. So Oscar made a pimento cheese tostone. Dwen made a pancetta croquette with Carolina Gold aioli and horseradish lemon aioli. And Seeger did a deviled egg crab gabiche with fried capers, which is kind of
Mm.
what a fancy deviled egg, a gabiche kind of. Um,
Grabiche is just a sauce that you use like chopped up eggs and yolks, and then you make like it's a condiment that you kind of make. You can make it a little bit looser, you can make it a little bit of tighter. It's like a very French American style dish that is like super popular. I once again one of my favorite or one of my least favorite versions of like an egg combination personally. But it's the perfect pairing because it's made with an aioli.
yeah,
It's made for this challenge, and I think it was just a good idea to execute from Seeger's standpoint to be like, what can I use? People love eggs. It's great, past appetizer, but it also has mayonnaise in it. So just he's thinking on theme with what he's trying to execute here.
Yeah, I think a lot of the judges had the same thought of you with the gabiche because they did not like his at all. They said it was
Mm,
super salty,
mhm,
soupy, grainy. It just didn't have the right texture, and it was way over seasoned.
mm.
So it didn't turn out, I think, the way he wanted it to.
Yep.
But Kristen thought Dwen's had too much mayo. Dare they say? Even Kristen said, "Dare I say it was too much mayo for a mayo
Mhm.
challenge?" It tasted like deep fried mayo. She said, "Oh, I don't even want to know what that would taste like. Deep fried oil, essentially."
Yeah, but it can like mayo caramelizes. Like people don't realize this. I've seen chefs like toast like sandwich bread with mayonnaise instead of olive oil or butter, and I'm like, oh shit, that's cool. But at the same time, it's like when it's done wrong, it's done wrong. And using too much mayonnaise in a mayonnaise challenge also is like how? I'm a little
Yeah,
confused. Maybe it's like I'm leaning into the mayo. It's leaning into the mayo, but there, I guess it was too far. I mean, I don't know. It's hard because you and I don't get to taste the food. We're just visually critiquing
right.
based off what people say. So it's tough. It's like, how do you go too hard on the mayo with something like a croquette that needs moisture, it needs a sauce, it needs another component to like help it, shine. And so it's just not a piece of fried something. So yeah, I don't know. I was a little taken back when they said it was too mayo-y, and I was like, interesting.
Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing. It's like this is a mayo challenge, but then I was thinking, okay, that's the challenge in this quick fire,
Mhm.
right? How to make mayo the star without it overpowering everything else, and that's tough. And I think
Right.
Dwayne went a little bit over on the mayo flavor there, but they did
Maybe
like
too much on a
Oscars.
plate.
Yeah, a little too much on the plate there. But they did
Mm,
like Oscars, Tostoni, the texture of the pimento cheese. They liked a lot. I'm a fan of pimento cheese, so I liked it. His looked really good.
mm.
So Oscar starting off really well in here in the quick fire. And then they made Rhoda present all by herself. One thing I noticed with Rhoda, she comes back from Last Chance Kitchen and they put her kind of all alone. That like I thought they would pair everybody like two, because there's 8 people left, but they kind of made her stand out by herself. So she did an oyster cracker with trout dip, creme fraiche, mayo, and cornichons. The judge thought it was crispy but a little too salty. So Rhoda, she came back and was on her own, and I think even some of the chefs were like, "Oh, you were by yourself. That's got to be nerve wracking, right? You're just coming back
Yeah.
from Last Chance Kitchen, like kind of, you know." Tell me, what do you think was going through her mind having to present by herself right coming out of Last Chance Kitchen?
It definitely is going to intensify the nerves there because she's coming back, kind of trying to refill her, where she stands in the ladder here, and so it is a little nerve wracking. She on the appetizer, it's like why not pair her with that? But I guess because she got the dessert, they wanted to keep a theme and like center by herself. But um, she's also been having trouble over seasoning food. She's had some very salty dishes between Last Chance Kitchen. Right before she got knocked out, seasoning has been something that she's like kind of doing dips. It's like she's got to find how to get back to those first 2 episodes. That version of her, she's got very quickly because at this point, there's nowhere else to care. There's nothing's going to save you.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see how she does through the rest of the season. She made it through. She was safe. But coming back from Last Chance Kitchen, I don't know if she had to kind of shake some nerves off again, almost like it's your first day back on Top Chef. Coming from Last Chance Kitchen, because in Last Chance Kitchen, you're cooking.
Yep.
It's just a series of quick fires, and this is your first kind of big challenge back. So you kind of have to get back into that mindset, into that type of thinking of an elimination challenge versus just cooking to survive.
Mhm.
Um, so we get right into the elimination challenge, and I liked how, and even in the quickfire, they had a longer time. They had an hour instead of the normal like 30 or 20 minutes for a quickfire. They had an hour, but they also had, their normal elimination challenge time frame. I think it was like 2 hours or something like that to cook, or 3 hours. I can't remember exactly, but they had the option of like banking their quickfire time into their elimination challenge time. So some of them were like, okay, I'm going to just make a real quick appetizer, and then I'm going to use the rest of the time because I need that time to cook my main course. So the challenge in the elimination challenge was, as a group, serve an 8-course dinner party menu, like a cohesive, progressive menu for this dinner party. So it's almost like Restaurant Wars light, because they had to kind of create a cohesive menu like they would for Restaurant Wars, except for a dinner
Mhm.
party. So they all kind of had to work together to make sure they came up with the right dishes that complemented each other throughout the night. So they had a raw course, a salad course, a soup course, a seafood course, a grain course, a poultry course, a red meat course, and then dessert. So, jumping right into the raw course, Jonathan chose the raw course. He did a steak tartare with an egg yolk emulsion, cornichon chimichurri, crispy shallots, and toasted baguette. I thought it was smart to plate in the walk-in. We've seen a
Hmm.
lot of tartares over the years on Top Chef, but plating in the walk-in, I think, is those little things that you don't think about. And you're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why anybody else didn't do it because steak tartare has to be cold.
Right.
So the diners thought it was seasoned well. They liked the chimichurri, and I think even one of them knew that he played it in the walk-in and called it out on the judging. So, what do we think of the tartare? Was that a smart choice going into the walk-in and plating, or no?
Yeah, 100%. At this point, there's like no room for error for any of these guys. They make one little mistake, you're probably going home, or you're in that bottom ladder of people that are going to be picked to, you know, explain why you messed up. And at this point, there's only 8 chefs left. The pressure's on. We could see a potential double elimination coming up, and so like the pressure's just really on. Everybody's feeling it. Even Lawrence said at the beginning of the episode when they were in the stew, he's like the less people there are, the more intense this is getting. And it's like, yeah, it should feel like this. You're in the finale. You're coming up on the championship or the Eastern Conference Finals of the playoffs here. So you got to figure out how to not make any mistake in terms of your mise en place, in terms of your execution, in terms of like sticking to the challenge. And so he's just thinking about all variables. He's also probably missing his little brother or his twin brother. You know what I mean? Like he's in and out by himself, nobody to like entertain his banter the exact same way as him. But he also said, he would want me to go far. I'm going to cook for him in this. He's got to stay the course and not fret. And so I just think he made a really nice dish. Beef tartare is classic. The judges historically have loved when you nail a beef tartare. I know Henry on my season, second episode, did a beef tartare and like made this really giant cracker with it, and the judges were loving it. So I think there's just certain things that are winning recipes for Top Chef, and he stuck to his guns there, and it paid off.
Yep. Yep. Anthony had the salad course, and we see a rare misstep with Anthony here on
Mhm.
on his salad course. He did a watermelon salad with heirloom tomatoes, compressed watermelon, pickled rind, and Dungeness crab. The pickled rind was a big hit. I thought that was smart to do that, but he added crab and lettuce to it. And I think when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if that's the right move. I think he was trying to make it a little too fancy. And in
Mhm.
this case, when you're doing that watermelon salad, I think simple is best. You want that watermelon to stand out. You want things that complement that. It is a watermelon salad, and you want it to be cold and refreshing. And the crab and lettuce just kind of take you out of that, I think. So a rare misstep here for Anthony. Kind of wish he kept it simple. I think he just kind of got caught up in trying to chef it up too much. What do you think?
100%. That's a nail on the head. Sometimes your grandiose ideas aren't always great, even though it probably tasted great together. But it's like the judges said the lettuce and the crab kind of just felt out of place. Whereas like the watermelon was a star because he gave them variations of it, multiple different versions of a watermelon. The rind, he compressed the watermelon itself because he said it's not that good. It needs more flavor. So he found a way to get like more flavor into it and did a compression to like infuse, and it worked until it didn't. The salad quickly fell apart even though it looked nice, and then it just had too much going on. I think like you said, less is more with some of these like simple components. Like don't jazz it up too far, but it just depends on what you're doing, because like a tartare, for example, on the other side had a ton of components: chimichurri, this crunchy component, that, all these different seasonings going on, and it worked. And he said, also did say, I wish I would have added a splash of Tabasco, to like, bring it up a little bit. That was one of his personal critiques after he played it. He's like, I forgot to add like, a little bit of Tabasco maybe to like zhuzh it up. But it didn't matter there because he was him and Lawrence had the best 2 dishes of the day. So whereas you're trying to be critical, you just don't know what the judges are going to love sometimes. And Anthony fell a little bit short in giving them crab and lettuce on a watermelon salad. Like, where's the cohesiveness? He's trying to group his family dynamic in, and we ate this, and this is reminding me of home, and just got a little too away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of reminding of home, Lawrence's soup course was up next, and he did Longstong chicken and corn egg drop soup with a marinated bok choy and grilled corn. The diners thought it was a very complex, very simple looking, homey soup, but very complex in flavor, had good texture, very chunky
Hmm.
soup. And it
Hmm.
was a big hit, and everybody loved the soup. It was a nice layered flavor. He had the best dish of the night, kind of spoiler alert, but he ended up having the best course. And I think the reason why he had the best course is his told a story. And I think and he was cooking from like a childhood memory or from a place of endearment that his dad
Mhm.
used to cook this for him when he was a kid. So I
Right.
think when you come into a cook with that mindset, and they say, when you cook with love, people can taste it, and they really can. I mean, we kind of say that jokingly and hokishly, but in this sense, it was true. His was the really, I think, the only one that kind of came in with that story of, oh, I know exactly what I want to do because this is what I had as a kid, and my dad made it, and I think it'll fit well with this challenge. And it was a big hit. So, thoughts on Lawrence and thoughts about cooking from a place of memory and a place of like endearment of remembering something as a child eating and then
Mhm.
putting your skills to it and elevating it a little bit.
Mhm. This is the case in point of where they're at in the competition. At week 9, they've been away from home for quite some time now. They're missing family, they're missing friends. They're trying to find inspiration and in seeking back to your childhood or seeking back to like a good memory. Always like that's always going to help you portray a story when you're cooking a dish. And his dad seems like he was in his life and did a good job raising him. And so he stuck with his guns and he had a story behind it. It was a little funny. Long Tom, he was walking around the kitchen, Long Tom, like saying it, and you gotta dig deep in the Top Chef. I obviously was in LCK. Or I was finishing up LCK at this point of my season, and at this point, I had been gone for almost 2 months, and I was like, man, I miss everything. Like, I miss my life, I miss my friends, I miss my family. I'm knocked out. I'm going home, but I can imagine at this point if you're still in it, trying to find that next level, that next gear to like continue cooking. And he did it in an untraditional way. But I also saw like where that also had success. When I did my fried chicken, I didn't think I was going to be in the top in my season, but that took me back to like being a kid. Like the first thing I made for my like that I ever started really cooking and trying really hard at was fried chicken. And so, I was thinking of my mom. My mom would come home from work and be like, "Hey, can you make fried chicken for dinner tonight?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure." I would always get hype about it. I had like my technique of doing it, and it just used to make me excited. And so, like seeing Lawrence like put that into his food, like more love, more fire, like those things translates into like better cuisine for sure.
Yeah, when you cook from that place, you have fun in the kitchen. You can see that he was
Hmm.
having fun in the kitchen, prepping it. Like each knife stroke was bringing him back to a memory of something,
Hmm.
and it was really cool to see. So, good on Lawrence for cooking from your heart there. Sherry had the seafood course. She did a stuffed pepper with lobster mousseline, corn ragu, and a salsa verde, kind of a really fancy chili relleno, I guess, because it was a stuffed pepper there. But the diners loved the texture of the mousse. So, what did you think of Sherry's dish?
Sherry she has a style. That's the one thing I've found out very quickly watching, like following her. Obviously, she was one of my picks, and so as I'm looking at her cook, I'm like, she has a style of cuisine that she really like is trying to portray herself as a chef. Um, she's always doing like a mousseline or something very very like composed and fancy, and it looked really nice. I'm a fan of like hers. They love the texture of it. It's like you've got to nail those things. We see how important without a story technical cooking is in Top Chef. Prime example is Buddha. Buddha he's like the Stephen Curry of Top Chef. Like this guy doesn't miss because he's so technical and he executes. And I think when you're able to do technical cuisine, you don't even you don't have to say as much. You can just let the food do the talking. Like you can sit back and this is what I made and I stand on it and I'm confident in that. And we're seeing pockets of Sherry having those moments of just executing. We saw it last week in LCK. She just owned her role, executed, and it kind of like saves her. And she may not win, she may not be the favorite, but guess what? It doesn't matter because she's riding steady. And I'm almost willing to bet Sherry makes it to the top 3. Like if anybody's showing that they're throwing a hat in, she's one of the stronger ones. I'm willing to bet that Sherry makes it to the ladder unless something happens, which I don't know. But yeah, I'm a fan of how she's cooking. She's riding her wave, whether she wins or is like existing in the middle.
Yeah, Sherry's doing some really good cooking here in the later rounds, and yeah, I
Hmm.
agree. That I think she could be in the top 4, top 3,
Hmm.
especially we're down to 8 because I can
Hmm.
see some kind of looking at this challenge. I can see some people if they keep cooking the way they're cooking, they're going to get eliminated before her.
Hundred
But
percent.
she's doing really well, doing really well. So Dwen's up next with the grain course. She did a seafood rice with an herb salad and a dashi bermante. The diners love the seasoned rice. She's the designated rice cook in her family, so she was like, if I don't get rice right, I can't show my face. So she
Hmm.
did really well, and she said something like, normally, and I agree, there being Filipinos, like we don't normally do seasoned rice. It's just we just have rice. Maybe garlic fried rice is the extent of it. But what I thought was funny is I think it was one of the judges that said there's something homey about putting butter in rice, and I'm like,
Hmm.
what in the white people is this? Kinda like, you know.
No, that's a 1990s thing, man. I look, I'm Caribbean, but like my mom used to make butter rice too. Like it's just an American thing
Yeah.
that like was around in the 90s. I grew up eating butter rice. A lot of kids did back then. So it's not a far-fetched thing. I don't think you see it as much anymore, to be honest. Like I completely forgot about that. And when I was watching the episode, it took me back to being a kid. Literally, like took me back to being like a little kid. And my mom like maybe like, do you want some rice with a little bit of butter in it? And like, sure, one of those struggle meals that we just ate growing up. Like, I'm not mad at it, but it also like, if you can remind people of like a home cooked meal, like it's also like on top of that, that's a way to evoke emotion through food. It's a good thing. You know what I mean?
I mean, it was kind of funny because, growing up Filipino, my grandma cooked Filipino food all the time. We always had rice,
Mm,
never seasoned it. It was just it was the vehicle that carried the Filipino food. Like with adobo, you
mhm.
put the sauce in the rice and everything. So I met my wife, and she's white, I'm Filipino, and we were having rice one night, and I've never had butter, salt, and pepper on my rice. And then she put butter, salt, and pepper in the rice. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm putting butter, salt, and pepper on my rice. You never, what? No. But then I started
Did
eating
you
it. So I
try
was
it?
like, you know what? This is not bad at all.
It's
I was
not
like,
bad. Yeah,
what
that's
am
what
I
I'm
missing
saying.
out on this whole
You want
time?
to hear some? You want to hear something funny? So in Caribbean cuisine, like every Caribbean island has a version of rice and peas, right? But we also make white rice. There will be meals where you have both white rice and rice and peas next to each other, and depending on where you go with your protein, dictates which one. Everybody's going with like, if you're going curry goat, you're getting the white rice. Like if you're going with a different protein, you're going with the rice and peas. It just depends on where you're at. If you're getting oxtail, you put the gravy over the rice and peas. That's just how we eat. But there's like multiple rices at the same table. It's like culturally, like other cultures don't do that. You know what I mean? It's funny to see like culturally how rice plays such an important role. Like it's built dynasties on rice. But yeah, culturally, it's a funny thing to see like how people think about rice. And it definitely in this it was good for her, but we saw her Oscar. Oscar didn't know what he wanted to do with this challenge and decided to use incorporate rice. And it's like, bro, this is a progressive tasting menu. Like you're not supposed to double up and do the same thing. One, you also didn't cook the rice, so you have no control over it. Like you're using somebody's half-passed fluffed rice that she's already taken the best bits of, and you're getting the burnt ends of the rice pot basically and trying to make it work. I didn't understand that in that moment. I was like, that was a bad idea, Oscar. Like, stick to your guns. Let your dish die, because then now it's like, well, if they don't like the rice, you're like, well, whose rice was it? Who was doing it? And she cooked it over there. You could have tried to bus drive her, but that wasn't the case. But you know what I mean? It's you bus drove yourself by doing that. Like at this point, these guys got to start like separating themselves, like and not trying to use each other's mise en place. Like, let's just keep it separate. Like you guys got to start going for it. You guys want to win Top Chef? Like somebody's got to start like really being like, nah, like you have to stand on your own 2 feet from here on. Like it's
Yeah.
not we're past this at this point. So let's cook individually, have ideas. Like it can't come help you.
Yep. Yep. So we'll talk about Oscar here in just a second, but Seeger was up first with the poultry course. He did a chicken Vesivio, pea and Parmesan puree, chicken jus, and potatoes. Tom thought it was a nicely cooked chicken. I thought it was fine. It seemed like a
Mhm.
good chicken. I mean, I don't know. It didn't really kind of stand out or anything, but I thought it was fine.
Yeah, Seeger, he's had some highs, he's had some lows, he's had some existing in the middle. I wonder where his head's at. We never got the answer we wanted to in terms of like what happened with him, which we're just gonna chalk it. Maybe we try to get him on the pod, but we've got to figure out. He's got to figure out where he's at mentally. There's a fog there. Like it's looming. Like he's not going for it. He's making these missteps. Still he it's like what you said earlier. Like if people keep like over seasoning their food, especially if the judges do the same thing they did last year, where they said your quick fire is going to count towards your total cook. If you mess up on both, your good luck. You know what I mean? And that's probably going to happen because they need to like intensify the pressure here. If that keeps happening, like you coming out over seasoning your gerbiche, kind of existing with your main dish, that could get you knocked out. Even if everybody executes, that could be the thing that gets you knocked out. And so he's got to figure out his lane and kind of own it moving forward, or it's just going to be he's just going to exist in the middle. He's not going to make it to the top four, top three.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about Oscar. Spending some time here because I think he had a good dish
Mm,
because he did a short rib sancocho with yuca, butternut squash, carrots, and the rice. One of the diners, the owner of Sobeys, where they were cooking, said it
mm,
was not his favorite and
mm.
too much was going on. The rice was bland. Kristen thought it would have been better as a soup. Another diner thought there was something bitter in there that was off putting. I mean, I don't think he had a positive note from the judges, at least in the edited version that we saw. And I think he had a good idea with his dish. I don't know if maybe he overthought it a little bit. And because you see him thinking about his dish, he's like, I'm looking at everybody else's dishes, and they got some other stuff. I was like, I feel like mine is lacking, so I'm going to throw the rice in there. And it wasn't even his rice; it was Dwen's rice. So he couldn't control it, like you were saying before. But I think he might have overthought it. What went wrong with Oscar here, just in totality of his dish?
Just the execution of the base of what it was supposed to be. Sancocho is a Dominican like brothy stewed soup, essentially. Like sancocho is great, but so make it that. Like do that and plate that dainty and stick to that, braise it nice and low and slow so you're sure it still has, juice and texture in it. And they said the beef was dry. They said this. It's like he every note. When you saw him at the end, I was like, this is how he represented himself, like in this challenge, and it's not in a good way. He had curry powder all over his chef jacket, or turmeric all over his chef jacket. And I'm like, man, like, well, I was like, what's wrong with his jacket? I remember watching it, and I was like squinting my eyes, and I was like, oh, that was turmeric. Like, how did he get it all over himself? Like, what happened? Um, Sometimes when you're existing in a little bit of a mental fog or mental chaos, like it translates into like how you look or how you're presenting, and that went trickled all the way down to his dish. Man, it didn't look like a good dish. It wasn't composed. It wasn't put together. I don't think he really knew what he wanted to do going in, and then he saw what everybody else was doing and kind of had a moment of he fretted a little bit. It's tough because maybe it was the time, maybe it was the clock because he went from having a good appetizer to having a bad entree. So I wonder if it was the time constraint. What happened there? I'm confused, but it just didn't put together a good dish. I don't think any of the judges liked it in any way, and the reason why he's in the bottom for sure.
I mean, yeah, it had to be a tough day for him because he had a high in the
Mm,
quickfire. He was one of the quickfire
mhm,
favorites, along with Anthony and Jonathan. And then on the bottom, he was on the bottom of the judges' table for this dish. I mean, the emotional roller coaster that poor guy went on in one day
mm, mhm.
of doing this dish and having such a high in the quickfire. I can't even imagine where his head's going to be at for the next challenge. Assuming it's like you were saying when you were on, you're cooking every day, so I don't know if he's going to have enough time to brush that off before he comes into his next challenge. I guess we'll see. But with the dessert course, so Rhoda again is presenting on her own, and where everybody else was in pairs or in threes. Rhoda did an Eton mess. I've never heard of this before. So she did an Eton mess with whipped creme fraiche, berries, and a lemon pith. She got caught on her meringue. It didn't dehydrate and form the way she wanted it to. Tom thought the pith was too bitter, and there was nothing sweet to counter it. An Eton mess. Kind of, I don't know if you can explain it to the civilians that are listening, like us, like me. What is that dessert? What is it supposed to be? Because clearly Rhoda did it wrong. So what is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be like a nice dish that is encompassing of berries that has good meringue. I think it's like it's crunchy, it's sweet, it has like it's creamy. It's a couple of things, but it's messy because when you swirl it, the berries they leach their juices. It just turns to like this hodgepodge dish once you break into it. But in terms of her technical cooking, it's like in 4 hours. Everybody was asking why did she try to remake it, and it's like was it the meringue itself or was it the time? That's where I got confused at the judges table when Tom was like, "Why didn't you attempt to remake it?" And I was like, "With that amount of time on the clock, I don't think she would have been able to get it dehydrated. She needed another 2 hours, or she should have spread it thinner, and maybe she would have got the full dehydration through the egg whites on her meringue." But she knew it wasn't at a point where she was going to get it to be. I would have called it marshmallow but she said soft meringue. I would have been like, maybe it was a marshmallow more texture. I would have tried to dance around it a little better if you knew you fucked up. Like we got to figure this out. That's the hard part about it. It's like in those moments you gotta talk yourself out of a hole so you don't get eliminated. Like we saw with Massimo, he made ice cream with liquid nitrogen on mine and made creme anglaise. It was just creme anglaise. So the ice cream base never came together. So your creme anglaise just stayed creme anglaise. So call it creme anglaise, and um, he instead of the judges don't always know what's going on, so don't tell them. Don't give them ammunition. He went up there and Tom was like joking around and being like, "You're like, all right, tell us why you're in the bottom. Like, keep going, like, keep talking." And he kept going, and I'm like, "No, stop talking. Like, do the opposite, actually." But in those moments, it's like, what was the texture like? Was it enough to call it a marshmallow? Like that you're like, I toasted a marshmallow. Like I tried to dehydrate marshmallow that I made to give it a little bit of texture, but that's not what Eat Time Mess is. It's supposed to have a crunchy texture to it. So I think that's where the technical cooking of you calling a dish something and then not being able to execute that doesn't fly by at the judge's table.
Yeah, like if you say it's a meringue and they're expecting a meringue, anything
Hmm.
less than a meringue, then you're out. But yeah, like
Yeah.
you're saying, maybe she could have talked her way out of it and said, well, what it's top with. I'm doing a poetic license on an Eton mess instead of meringue. I'm doing marshmallow, whatever the case is.
Mhm.
One thing that the judges said I thought was particularly brutal with Rhoda was 4 hours. All she did was cut berries and make a creme fraiche and a meringue. Like, what did she do with the rest of her time? Like, because they don't see what's happening. But I was like, dang, when you put it that way, okay, yeah, she
Hmm.
had a ton of time to do something.
She could have
Um,
made more.
yeah, she could have made more, and
She
she
could have
she
went in a
could
different
have. And
direction.
somebody was like, "Hey, I had some extra eggs he could have used." Oh, I didn't know that, and it's just one of those things that just she got caught up in it, and she was trying too much to, I think, recover where she knew she went wrong instead of trying to look around and was like, "Can I start over? Let me think real quick, and do it again." But
Hmm.
hindsight's always 2020. So let's look at judges table. So they did the quickfire favorites and top and bottom of the judges table all in the same go. So the quickfire favorites were Anthony, Oscar, and Jonathan. Anthony wins with his dumpling, and he wins an extra 10K. Top of the judges table was Jonathan and Lawrence, and Lawrence won. We talked about that earlier. Lawrence had a great story to go with his dish, and his story came through in the dish. And the judges loved it. They also loved Jonathan's steak tartare, so well deserved top two there. Bottom of the judges table was Oscar and Rhoda. So it was tough seeing Rhoda on the bottom after coming out of Last Chance Kitchen, and when I was thinking back to previous people that came back from Last Chance Kitchen, I was thinking, I feel like they have done better coming right out, like they have something to prove. And there's another podcast called Pack Your Knives, which I'm sure you probably listen to.
Hmm.
Carly Levitz is the statistician extraordinaire on there. She's the Top Chef numbers cruncher, and she has done a thing where she calculated that, and statistically speaking, the chefs do better coming out of Last Chance Kitchen than expected. So it was really tough seeing Rhoda coming out of Last Chance Kitchen and being right there at the bottom again. You kind of wonder, like, man, maybe the self doubt comes in a little bit of like, should I have come out of Last Chance Kitchen? Like, what is happening? What do you think the mindset is if that were you, and you're coming out of Last Chance Kitchen and you're on the bottom? Like, what would you be thinking to yourself?
You're probably riding a high in terms of like confidence because she wasn't the last person to come in and then go. She had to fight out, you know, like she had to win out. She had to cook multiple times. And so she should be rolling on a high of confidence there, but um, coming back into it and trying to feel her place out, getting the short end of the stick and being like, I mean, she didn't want to do dessert. She very adamantly said that, like, oh, like dessert was the last thing I would have picked for this, but everybody, has done, I think everybody at this point has executed a dessert, if I'm not mistaken at this point. They had the entire dessert competition inside the Top Chef kitchen. A couple people have done some other desserts outside of that. And so, people are probably like, I'm exalting my pastry back here. That's a easy way to, get knocked out if you don't execute like a good dessert. And so she getting the short end of the stick it's not easy coming out of that and then being like, oh, this is what you're doing. It's like, I didn't get to pick. Everybody else got to pick. I didn't get to pick. So that's where I think a little bit of her unease maybe came from. And then her execution just wasn't there. Like she's clearly saying, like, I'm not great at pastries, and maybe this is not a good feeling for me coming out and having no choice of which direction I wanted to go into. Maybe I wanted to do a salad. Maybe I wanted to do the chicken. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. She's got to figure it out quick. She doesn't have time. Like
Yeah, it's
this is
almost
it.
you almost wonder if she felt like she got penalized for coming back from LCK, having to,
How it
you know,
feels.
being one that doesn't like to do desserts and didn't want dessert, but being stuck with dessert. You're like, oh my god, I just fought my way out of LCK, and you're saddling me with dessert, something I don't do well or regularly, but
Hmm.
I am forced to now. So even more so, fighting for my life in this one. But Oscar was eliminated, but probably by this much. Probably not by a lot. And I think that the
Hmm.
common thing for Oscar and Rhoda was just execution
Hmm.
and doing things that they probably know how to do every other day of their life, and then just for whatever reason, what is it about Top Chef that just makes accomplished chefs forget how to cook?
Everything, man. It's not. I don't think it's forgetting. It's just the environment that you're going into. Like you're in a new. They just moved from Charlotte down to Greenville, and they're in all these new kitchens, all these new equipments. Don't have things. Trying to put together ideas. You're looking at what other people are doing. You're exhausted. You're. It's early mornings and long nights in Top Chef like kitchens. Like it's not easy to like do these things, but then also you don't have a window to even like plate something and be like, all right, this is good. Let me adjust this flavor, add this. It's you got to one and done your dish basically. And sometimes you need a little more time. That's the truth of it. You need a little bit more time. As we saw at Rhoda's Meringue, needed a little bit more time. Like my chow and mushi needed a little more time. Like this, that's just how Top Chef is. I don't think it makes you forget cooking, but it's just the high stakes and that time clock is ruthless, man. Looking at that clock and being like, oh man, like it's going off in 5 seconds. And then, we saw a couple people early on in the season just struggling with the clock. Like you need a little more time. And I think that that's the hardest thing in Top Chef. Some days you're on it, you're moving quick. Some days you're a little tired, you're moving a little slow. So the variable, the one variable gets everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, you needed just a few more seconds on the Chow and Mushi to take the plastic off for Daniel Boulud there.
Yeah, no, I needed another couple. I needed 5 more minutes with what I had to deal with that day to get the dish even like consistent. It was inconsistent. We had five on the table that were okay. Couple, two were great. Like Kristen slid her spoon and was just like, "Charmone just steamed perfectly." Looked at Dan Bliss and was like, well, "What's going on here? Like, let's talk about that." And,
I still
it
got
just got
plastic wrap in mine.
yeah, man, it's an awkward conversation. I was like burning myself. My clock was going off. I was still trying to peel it. I was like, I'm going home. So if I go home, like this, at least I peeled the plastic off. Still didn't get the plastic off. Yes, that was my toughest day in cooking. Yeah, yeah, because it was televised. I've had some bad services where I'm like, man, like you got to figure this shit out. Like, but yeah, that was one of those days where I'm like, man, this sucked. Like this sucked. I'm going home. I'm going home for sure.
It was televised,
Didn't go,
and it was Daniel Boulud, and it was plastic.
and it was Dan Baloo, man.
I
It was one of the
mean,
goats, bro.
and it's always televised and on the internet for posterity. Your kids, your twins are going to grow up and one day find this on the internet and go, "Dad, what the heck, man?"
What happened? But there's truths behind the scenes, man. I told you, like mechanical failure will set you up for disasters. Like if I couldn't steam, I couldn't steam. I had to get a workaround.
Hilarious, hilarious. All right, so let's get a draft point update. Relatively low scoring. I think when you get down to this many chefs, you're going to have a pretty good distribution of negative and positive points.
Mhm.
But I won this episode 8-5. But the overall
You won this
total,
episode? What?
I won this episode 8-5, baby. But the overall, you're still killing me. 51. I have 51. You have 89.
Mhm.
With probably what 5 more episodes left to go before the finale.
Yeah.
So we're getting it down to the wire. Again, Anthony and Lawrence are the point leaders for individual chefs. So just based on that, if I had to guess a final two, it'd be them two. Unless they do
Mhm.
something crazy and completely fall on their face in the next few episodes, I can't not see them in the finals.
Yeah.
So I think it's them two, and then we're just battling for that third place spot of who's going to be in the finals with them.
Duya and Sherry. I think it's the four of them are cooking the most consistent at this point and have leaned
Yeah,
into it. I think the four of them are where we want to see the finalists, and that's a tough pick. Like of those four, if everybody executes on that challenge, who's getting eliminated? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like whose character, who hasn't shown themselves and represented themselves in terms of like I'm here to win Top Chef. I think that's the solid four I'm going with. If I had to roll the dice and bet money on it, those are the four I would pick after this current episode and say those are the four that we're going to see 3 of them in the finale.
Yeah, Dwayne and Sherry are doing, from a consistency standpoint, those two are doing great. But Oscar, I mean, he's had flashes of brilliance. We talked about his tongue-in-cheek barbacoa last week being the best dish of that night. So he's got it in him. And I think if he can kind of maybe get out of his own head a little bit on some of these challenges, I think he'll do really well. And Rhoda, I think she just needs to get to the mindset of where she was in the first 2 episodes and get into that gear again. But yeah, I think we're gonna have a really exciting
Seeger's kind
finale
of
coming up.
existing. Yeah, Seeger's existing kind of here, and Oscar's out now, so Oscar's gone. Um, is the twin, is Brandon gonna, or is Jonathan gonna step up? Like, is he gonna start wowing? I mean, like he had a great dish, but like he's got to carry that if he wants to make it to the final. He's got to carry that energy. Like he's got to up that. He can't have any more moments of like shakiness going forward. And he's on the cusp. He's not out. Maybe I could be wrong, but you know, just observing what we've seen, like it's shaping out to be a really really strong group that's coming to the end here.
Yep. Yeah, and Oscar being gone, there's no more Last Chance Kitchen, so he's gone.
Gone,
We
Gone.
Yep, no coming back. No coming back. But well, we did it. We covered this episode. I think we're looking forward to a really exciting last few episodes coming up. I think they're going to kick it in gear, and we'll see if anybody has what it takes to bring down Anthony and Lawrence. They're the clear front runners. So we'll see where everybody else stacks up. Just a last few moments here, Corwin. Where can people find you on Instagram to follow your exploits and what's going on in your life?
You can follow me at Chef Corwin Hemming on Instagram. Yeah, come check us out at Isla. We're coming up on the Rammies finalists. Can't wait to go to the Rammies celebration and see if we won gold. I'm hoping. I'm pretty confident in our ability. Our team's executing very well. So things are good at the restaurant. Babies are getting fat. Summertime is around the corner. This means my birthday's coming up.
Hey,
But we need to figure out what we're doing for this finale, man. I think we gotta put some pen to paper here. We gotta make it happen, Rich. What are we doing? What do we tell the people what we're doing?
I
What are we
mean, I don't
doing?
know. I mean, I just got back from a Disney vacation, so I am beyond broke. I mean, Disney will make a poor man out of somebody.
Oh,
So, I
quick.
mean, I don't know. I gotta figure that out. So, once we get a little bit closer, I got to see. All right, I got to take some time off of work and let me see if I can, swing for the plane ticket and hotel. But we'll figure something out. I mean, worst case
We'll see.
scenario, we meet like this and we
We
have
made
a
it like
good
this and
time.
it's perfectly fine. Yeah,
But
for sure.
I would love to come to the restaurant and do a recording there on site, watching it immediately following the episode. We do the coverage right then. That would be so fun. So yeah, I'll see what I can do to make it happen. I skipped a couple of mortgage payments to go to Disney, so we'll see how that goes.
Gotta sell the tires on your car next week.
That's right. The plasma place is. I think I'm gonna have to make a couple of stops there for the next few weeks.
Tackle some
But yeah,
spinal fluid.
yeah. So stay tuned. Make sure you like and follow on your podcast player of choice, and make sure to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content. What will we do for the finale? Who knows? But you got to
Who
stay tuned to
knows?
figure it out. So, Chef Corwin, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
I'll see you, Rich. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Eat Your Content. If you like what you hear, please consider supporting the podcast through my merch store on TeePublic. Get great quality items like t-shirts, hats, mugs, and more, all sporting the vibrant Eat Your Content logo. Go to teepublic.com/user/eatyourcontent for more great items, and thanks for your support.